there was a very stupid thing that happened in the NBA. Because there was a guy who you may or not remember was brought in here by the league to try to fix Sam Hinkie's Philadelphia 76ers. And we all hated it at the time. And it only got worse because once he was installed, the team needed to hire a GM. And they did. And they did a non-exhaustive search, and they hired the guy's son. Of course, I'm talking about Jerry and Bryan Colangelo. So Mike Sealski wrote something up over at the Philadelphia Inquirer. And he talked to Jerry Colangelo, who was a very well-respected executive for U.S. basketball and more. But he was quoted, and I'm going to give the shout-out here to Crossing Broad for this because Pagan, it looks like, wrote this whole thing up. But there's an excerpt here that I thought was so gross and made me feel so disgusting on the inside that I simply had to show it. And I still can't, this just goes to show how inept and how tone-deaf and how detached from reality the Colangelos have been. So Sealski talked to Colangelo, Jerry Colangelo, who still doesn't think his son did anything wrong with the Sixers burner scandal, which we'll recap here in a second. He says, Bryan is doing fine. He's not in basketball, as you well know. And that's a sad story from my perspective because he really had nothing to do with anything, if you know what I mean. And Sealski writes, I did. Anyone who has followed the Sixers and the NBA over the last decade would. And anyone who remembers what happened would know that Jerry, by saying his son, quote, really had nothing to do with anything, end quote, was granting Bryan a heavy, perhaps inappropriate measure of generosity and loyalty. The kind of generosity and loyalty that only a father could give to his son. Bleh. Bleh. Bleh.